If you're not familiar with TED Talks, the general concept is ideas worth spreading. A lovely idea, actually. Now, TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design, but it's become much more. The once national gathering has spawned local TEDx events across the world, and here in Albuquerque, the effort is going strong. And now, with TEDx ABQ Ed expanding on January 11th into education, it's expanding even more. So joining us, the founder of TEDx ABQ, Tim Knisely. He's been here before. We always like when he comes in. And the organizers of the Educational Ideas Conference, Bill Metter and Lisa Harris. Lisa, let me start with you. We've had the great fortune to have a number of the speakers actually at the event be here. One of them being, as a matter of fact, is Rob Janoff with his rock and rhythm class of music teaching in the classroom. Just a really terrific educator. We did it on the American Graduate Series. Let me ask you this. When you pick people, when you and Bill sat down to pick folks to talk at this event, there were things you wanted to get across, not just in education, but music, dance. We'll cover a lot of different things in art. What was the general idea on the picking of the folks to speak right off the bat?
We were looking for a wide range of educators, community people, business people. We didn't really hone in on just educators. What we got back were 65 incredible submissions for TED Talks. Wow. And we were really excited because we wanted a wide variety of people, from charter schools to private schools, public schools, K through 12, pre-K. And so we were looking for more from different venues in education, and the ideas that came forth. There are common narrative threads that are starting to run through them, which is really exciting to hear. So that's what we were looking for, was a wide range of content areas, a wide range of grade levels, ages, and then different community partners.
Interesting. I like this idea of the commonality, Bill Metter, of the threads that you're starting to see, no matter where these educators are coming from or others, community people are coming from. Was there any one particular theme that has jumped out at you at this point that you think folks are going to come out the door with when they finish on the 11th?
We mainly just wanted to have new and different ideas, and I just want to say it's not just Lisa or Tim and I that pick these folks. We usually have a speaker selection committee. We have speaker recruitment committees, so we try to reach out into the community and find as many new, different, exciting people that are doing things that other people might not have heard of, and try to get them on the stage, craft a talk so that it'll be something memorable for people to take away new ideas, not just from the people in the auditorium, but also to record these, and they'll be online shortly after we finish the event. And so these ideas can maybe spread across the state, even into other states. And there's obviously things that people are doing in other places that we can learn from, but we hope that maybe there's some things like Rob Janoff's Rocking Rhythm Band and some of the other things that our speakers will talk about that maybe people other places can pick up on and use from here.
Sure. Tim, good to see you again. You've been a guest here before. We always like when you come in. Interesting that Bill just mentioned a key phrase there that other folks might not know about.
Yes.
We were joking here at the table that there's so much brain power in Albuquerque that a lot of folks don't know about these other people, and that's what TEDx ABQ is all about. It's really quite terrific. Who are you expecting for audience? Who would you like to be in the audience? What would be your dream audience? What would that makeup look like?
We actually this is the first event where we've focused on a specific issue, and I think education is a wonderful place to start. It is an area where we have so much need in New Mexico, but we also have so many great ideas, and we have so many people doing amazing things. And TEDx ABQ Ed is a great opportunity for those ideas to see some light and hopefully spread a little bit. As far as the ideal audience goes, we've actually curated half the audience for this. So we actually reached out to specific players in the education field, from policymakers to funders to administrators, and also teachers and students. So we're really hoping to have a nice spread of people that work in education or simply that care about education, including community members who simply have a passion for this and would like to see what could make their school or their child's education more effective.
That's interesting, because you have to imagine if folks who are concerned about education, meaning parents, others, get more they're more informed, more empowered, they can then ask for change.
Absolutely.
Using specifics that you folks might be talking about.
TEDx ABQ has been really good as an event. We've grown up and all volunteer driven, and it's really a great example of the power that can happen when people just get together and decide to do something. And we'd really like to see that happen with this event, where students and teachers and parents can demand the things they'd like to see in their classrooms and really begin to affect change on a much larger basis from the grassroots.
I'm going to stay with you on this one too, because I just love the fact, as I scroll through the TEDx roster of folks, some of my favorite people in Albuquerque certainly, but I love the fact that it reflects New Mexico. There's a lot of nationalities, genders are represented well. We've got a lot of art things going on. It looks like our state.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you were peeking in from Missouri, you would have a very positive feel about the range of people here. Good for you. Was that by design when you look
Absolutely.
at the overall list?
We've had a very really a cultural emphasis on reflecting, an organizational cultural emphasis on reflecting the diversity that exists in New Mexico. The ideas here are so diverse and so beautiful, and I think the presenters do reflect that in a really good way this conference.
Sure, absolutely. Lisa, we started this talking about how to get ideas into the classroom. And we talked a little bit before the taping actually about empowering parents to be demanding with information like this about what you're going to present. But it takes a little bit more than that, doesn't it? Because a lot of your folks are already doing things in the classroom. They've proven a model, they've proven a point. How does this help them get that model out further and get into other classrooms beside their own?
What's interesting about educators in particular, and having been one for a long time, I know my colleagues, and we're really in the classroom trying to do the best we can for students. We don't get a voice. We don't usually have a platform outside of our classrooms or our schools. And so you have your kind of local heroes in your districts, and you have the teachers who are working really well with kids. But when I sat in a TEDx 2011, I sat all by myself in the audience, and all I could think of was my colleagues being on that stage sharing the great things that they do. So for me, the first step is about really giving educators a different kind of platform, not through the newspapers necessarily, but really on a stage where a lot of people have come to hear great ideas, and they're there because they want to see what's out there, and we brought everybody to the table. I think our conversation is not so divisive. Our conversation is more inclusive. It's a focus on the students, and it's a focus on like you said, the brain power that's already out there. So we're really excited about this.
Interesting. You know, it's funny, Bill, you mentioned for viewing later. And the last time Tim was here, I was joking that I have both the TEDx app on my iPad and on my phone. And it's amazing how many moments watching a TEDx talk is just the perfect thing you need right at that moment. And I bring it up just it's a good laugh, but a lot of folks don't attend things. They're not joiners. They don't attend. They're not going to sit in the audience and do anything, but they will look at home. How critical is that component to getting this out there? That's just that idea of having an archive for everybody to get.
I usually say the most important thing is the speakers on the stage for our audience, and then the next most important thing is to get a quality recording so that we can, spread these ideas and they can live for a long time. One of the most famous TED Talk is Sir Ken Robinson, been viewed, millions of times, and it's, at least 5 or 6 years old. So, these things can last for a long time. These ideas can spread over a wide range, and so it's really important that, if people can't be there, that within a relatively short period of time, hopefully, by the end of the month, we'll have these recorded and up on our site. Some of the speakers will be able to put them on their own web pages and link these to other people. We're going to have I have a slide deck they know that I'm going to have on the site about, I've got, probably 50 links that people can use for teaching with TED Talks. And that's another way, they're relatively short. They can certainly be shown in the classroom. And a lot of people using the Saul Kahn model have flipped the classroom. They have their students watch a TED Talk while they're at home online, and then come into class and be ready to talk about one of these subjects. So instead of doing the lecture in the classroom, you're now having them watch the lecture online, and now you do discussion in class.
So you've led directly to where I wanted to go. Thank you, sir. Because as everybody here well knows and watching at home, we've got this new idea going out there for higher education, starting with the ability to take classes at Stanford, at Harvard, at Princeton, at UNM online. And this has become a big deal. Again, the same theory. If you can't come to the mountain's got to go to you somehow. And again, for education purposes, your personal opinion, just outside of this event itself, how big and how impactful in New Mexico do you think learning online is going to be in our state? Does it solve a problem for us here?
I think it solves a huge problem. I teach online classes at CNM. I also teach hybrid, and I do teach on-ground. But even in the on-ground classes, when you give students these opportunities to view things online, this is where many of our students live now. They live on an iPad. They live on any other kind of digital platform, whether it's a laptop. I think the desktops are probably on the way out, but
Right.
mobile devices. I've had students tell me they took an entire online class on a mobile device.
Wow.
And so so I think we offer these opportunities. We put it out there. You allow people to become more self-directed. You tell them, here it is. There are literally thousands of these TED Talks and TEDx Talks available, and you can now take these TEDx Talks and flip them through the TED Ed application. You can flip any of these talks and turn them into your own lesson. You can add your own questions, your own resources, and make your own lessons. So the TED folks have created a really powerful platform for us. There are all kinds of things out there. People just need to be aware of it.
That's fascinating. I honestly, I had no idea. I thought I was up on this. I didn't know that TEDx Ed was moving so far ahead like that, Tim. Interesting. All new ideas must be met with resistance. It's the way of the world. And this idea of online teaching, we've heard our resistance. We've read about it in the paper. We've seen a lot of things happen. A lot of folks are not so into it. But where does it seems to me what TEDx is doing. That's okay. I know it's a cold season. What TEDx is doing is actually opening up the idea itself about how online can be just as valuable for some people in some situations as in a classroom. Do you feel like you have some sense of this as well by doing these?
Yeah, I mean, I really believe the internet has really just changed the whole way we talk as humans and the way we learn. And the TED model, where speakers who are doing great things, who are enormously talented, spend months preparing a 3 or 6 or 9 minute talk to then give back to the audience and live online. I think it changes the communication paradigm in a lot of ways. The impetus is now on the speaker to communicate their idea effectively and engagingly.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think that's what the TED model does really well.
And just to flesh it out, we're also close to this. If you have never seen a TED, you might be fooled into thinking it's just a professorial, someone's looking out at the audience, blah, 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 blah. It's not. It's very entertaining. It's incredibly entertaining, some of these things. So it's very interesting. Lisa, let's talk about art. You've got one of the gentlemen from STEM. You've got someone representing dance. You've got music. You've got a lot of different other ways that kids learn and internalize learning. How important was that to bring in some art stuff into this as well?
Well, I think that what many of us know in the classroom and parents know is that kids aren't just heads walking around through the hallways.
Right.
And we've tended to move towards that, where we look at students just as brains and that's it. And we've kind of lost the idea that we are whole people walking around on this earth trying to do the best that we can. And so I think what's really exciting about this is that the speakers are talking about whole children. From their physicality to the way they feel to the things that impact them emotionally and that might then impact their learning. So I'm really excited to see a focus back on the student and, a kind of shift away just a little bit from content being the most important thing, but having children's passion be the thing that leads them to the content. So
interesting.
yeah, I'm very excited about that.
That's interesting. That's a reason I want to go right there. I want to hear that exactly. Bill, interesting. Let's. For the sake of argument, we've got 2 issues that bedevil us here in New Mexico for education, or in Albuquerque more specifically. The dropout rate we talk about in our here at New Mexico PBS all the time, but then also early childhood education. And it's interesting when you look at the numbers of what gets solved with early childhood intervention, when learning actually starts in a vigorous way at a younger age. Are there things to be heard at this event that addresses some of that people could get something about?
Absolutely. We have a principal from a preschool who's going to speak. And again, there are so many new ideas that are going to come here. We have 16, 18 folks who are going to talk about new ideas in addition to some of the connections that can be made. That's the other thing. We're going to have some talks for an hour or so, have a little break where people can network some. Then there'll be another hour or so of talks, and then we'll have about an hour afterwards with some light refreshments, people to continue to make these connections. Because again, in addition to the talks, some of these connections that get made at these events. We hope to have about 300 people at this event. In the fall, back in September, we had 650, 700 people at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. And I'll let Tim give the big news later, but we're hoping to continue these events and have even bigger events in the future to not only spread ideas, but also to make connections between people, to come to our events and get connected with some of these people that might share their same passion. You didn't know about it until you came to this event.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden you find out there's a lot more people out there that are excited about what you are also excited about.
Not bad. We're under 30 seconds. Let's go to the big news now. What's going on? I'm excited here.
I'd like to tag on what Bill said about
please.
about the networking. It is really good. You go to a TED conference for the talks, but the connections are amazing. You have such extraordinary people that go there.
Sure.
It's like a spa day for your brain. It's a very engaging thing.
Interesting.
The big news is we're moving to Popejoy in September 2013 to 2,000 people at the September TEDxABQ event. And we're really excited about that, and I think it's a great evolution for the TEDxABQ movement.
What
in
was the
Mexico.
first TEDxABQ?
The first one was actually at the Hard Rock down just south of there. It's about 300 people. Then we moved to the National Hispanic Cultural Center for 2 years, and now we're expanding yet again. So
Good for you.
very
Congratulations.
exciting.
Good for you guys. We'll see you on Friday the 11th. I'll be there for sure. This will be great. Thank you for spending some time coming in and talking with us about it. So again, TEDxABQ Ed is Friday afternoon, January 11th at the African American Performing Arts Center. That's in Albuquerque. Now, in a moment, remembering the Speaker of the House, Ben Lujan.